To the Crown, we often think of royal scandals as big news, don't we? But it's normally the real life news that creates bigger scandals, particularly with the British royals. You only have to look through history, don't you? Everybody remembers Mrs. Simpson. You know, even now, today, people look upon that particular story in two halves, really. Was it about broken love? Was it about really power? Was it about someone that didn't really want to be part of the monarchy, you know, be the king? The stories are very different, whichever one you pick up on. Numerous films, numerous documentaries and dramas, even one made by the pop superstar Madonna. But we're not really sure exactly about the true story, are we? It's a little bit like these royal scandals that I thought we'd take a very quick look at today, because when you think about it, as I say, they look at the Crown and they say, oh, you know, look at what they're doing, look at what they're saying. But you see, the bigger problem with the Crown is simply this: they don't really have that much access to reality. And I don't mean that in a cruel way, but you know, we get told what we get told. People who report royal news, you know, have basically quite a few contacts. But of course, those contacts naturally may have their own versions of the truth. It's up to you, the reporter, to decipher the bits that you think are truly worthwhile reporting. But cast your mind back to 67 years ago. I know, none of us were born then, right? But 67 years ago this week, a true royal scandal was taking place. That's right, because the beautiful younger sister of the then reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Margaret Rose, well, she had a major dilemma, because this was the time, 67 years ago to this very week, that she had to decide whether she stuck it out for love or indeed duty. For those with a very long memory, you will recall that Margaret had fallen in love with Group Captain Peter Townsend, a fellow equerry for the king at the time. And apparently she was seriously considering removing herself from the monarchy as a full-time position, because apparently love was everything. It's truly what she wanted to do and what she wanted to do moving forward. At the 11th hour, despite endless newspaper columns, magazine coverage, you name it, it was a different time. They didn't discuss it in major detail, but it was talked about in hushed tones by broadcasters, you know. Apparently she would do the right thing. On the afternoon that she let release out from via Buckingham Palace, everybody apparently was relieved. They didn't want to lose her from the British monarchy. We know, of course, that Princess Margaret's life wasn't particularly, that well served, as it were. You know, she didn't seem to find endless happiness like her elder sister Elizabeth. But of course, you know, I was lucky enough to meet her, as many people know, here on the channel, albeit briefly, but long enough to get to know her. She did seem a little woman, shall we say, at a loss of life. I think that would be the kindest thing to say. But of course, as I say, 67 years ago, things looked rather different for the monarchy. Cast your mind back though, 19 years ago to this very week, that's when a press release came out from the once now not talking, but were then talking brothers, Prince Harry and Prince William, denouncing a book by Princess Diana's rock, allegedly. That's right, the former royal tray carrier, Paul Burrell, had decided to release a tell-all book. Yes, and they were very upset by this, because according to that particular press release, they had hoped for something a little bit better. As we know, Mr. Burrell went on to create a very lucrative media career, making absolutely thousands upon thousands of pounds. Cruise ship chats, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, and a talking head at the drop of a hat, offering his expertise, including, of course, that now infamous trial, of which allegedly our late and wonderful monarch remembered some minor conversation with the former royal servant that he could keep certain elements of the late Princess Diana's artifacts. You see, as I say, when you watch The Crown, what you really see in real life you couldn't possibly make up. And as I say, 19 years ago to this very week, Paul Burrell was very much a man in the news. But as royal scandal and gossip shows, it all very quickly moves on, hopefully for the better. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.